on, Razimus here. Just chilling on this hill. I am working very diligently on the new show. Quality over quantity is something I really want to achieve. And I really wanted a cameraman, but I was willing even to pay this cameraman, who's a relative, because I don't trust a random stranger to hold this camera. This camera may be cheap to someone with $1 million in their bank account, but I haven't even paid 1 penny of this camera off yet, because I made a couple purchases before this camera and I'm paying off those. But that's my choice. This camera is well within the budget that I can save up for and pay off no problem. I just wanted to get a good graveyard shot, and I will get that graveyard shot legally from the sidewalk. It'll be a little bit awkward, a little bit tough. All good things aren't easy. Some things are very tough and you have to really grind through and work hard to get through. A lot of people on YouTube didn't make the 4,000 hours watch time or the 1,000 subscribers limit. YouTube never even said anything about 4,000 hours. They said 4K watch time. They didn't even specify if it was minutes or hours. When I look at my dashboard, it shows me minutes. So I had to do some math. Luckily, I'm well within the 4,000 watch hours within the past, whatever that range is. I'm very grateful to you subscribers, to you viewers, even the ones that don't like my content. For some reason, you watch me, and I really appreciate it. And I don't want to focus on the negative, but I do get a lot of negative comments, probably proportional to how many views I get. The more views you get, just to let you know, if you get a video that blows up overnight due to just search results, whatever the case may be, there are tiers of approval in YouTube, and they're all secret. They're classified information, but there was a secret video released where an employee said there's a carousel of recommended. It's like a recommended carousel. It's those videos you see at the side of, say, this video or other videos, and you don't get in that carousel of recommended unless an algorithm picks it or a human picks it. And you can be eliminated from that based on an algorithm or a human. So it really depends. It's usually an algorithm, though. And hopefully this video is not stricken. I can guarantee you many of my past videos have been. And there's a new wave. There's actually a new wave. This is boring and technical. I'll get into the more interesting stuff. But there's a new wave of videos turning yellow. And I don't appreciate that. I don't like that. I have to click review. And they're all, and for many years, they've been approved and green, ready to go. But there's a new wave, and I don't think it's affected my channel too badly. I don't have 300 videos uploaded yet, but I'm getting pretty close. 300 videos is that magic number. But this is just an update on the channel. The sun is setting, so it's going to get pretty dark. But I just want to make this the last hours, the last minutes of sunlight to give you this update. Maybe I'll make another video today or tomorrow with more information, more stuff. The new show has its own name, has its own intro, has its own structure. I'm definitely going to be talking, but I'm going to try to write something decent for the intro and the outro as opposed to off the top of my head. Write something that sounds good. I've spent so much time on this that I'm really working a lot on the intro music, and people will definitely say, who cares? Just grab some royalty-free music. Royalty-free is not free. There are strings attached to everything that you don't make yourself, and I wanted 0 strings attached. But I have a good 6 keyboards. Only 3 or 4 of them are even decent to use. I want to hook them all up at the same time, loop some of them, come up with a really cool ambient electronic track, totally analog. I'm hearing a noise down there. I don't know if it's an animal. I am up in an area where rabbits and quail and all kinds of creatures live. But the new show is going pretty good. There's no snow, so I'm going to have to change the snow scene to a desert scene. I live in the desert. It's not a big deal. But the hardest part is I wanted to get a sunset scene where you can see my silhouette or the silhouette of a character I've invented. And the camera's going to have to be hundreds of feet away for that shot. So without a cameraman, I have to put this expensive camera on a tripod hundreds of feet away and hope nobody steals it while I'm filming myself. Hope nobody steals it. That's at the level. There are a lot of tiny barriers like that. Graveyards have tripod laws. Graveyards have filming laws. But I'm going to film from the sidewalk adjacent to a graveyard. Perfectly legal. But there's going to be traffic perhaps on the other side. Maybe I'll change the shooting location. It just looked really good. I have great respect for the dead, despite the fact that I'm part Native American, Choctaw tribe, or that I believe in many different philosophies of many different groups. But I do have specific beliefs, and here comes a truck going very slow. They probably won't see me. I'm a little bit obstructed from trees. But the dead, respect for the dead is paramount in my mind. Here comes the truck going a good 1 mile an hour. Interesting. But hopefully you can hear me. I got my lapel mic hooked up. The dead. I'm going to be dead one day. You're going to be dead one day. I definitely don't want people disturbing my grave, so I have no intention on disturbing anyone else's grave. I've seen a couple movies where there's a curse if you move the bones or disrespect the bones. And that's an exaggeration of what I believe is possible. Just simply don't disrespect the bones of dead people. Leave them at rest. Let them be. I did a full video on the Skull and Bones and how I thought they were a disrespectful organization. It doesn't matter if the skull and femur bones were dug up 100 years ago, 150 years ago, 180 years ago, 200, 2,000 years ago. Show them some respect. Don't use them as just a cartoon mascot for your fraternity. I even have mixed feelings about digging up Egyptian mummified remains, but if a grave robber is going to destroy the scene, might as well preserve it. I'm a big fan of Egypt, Egyptian mythology. It's intertwined with a lot of different mythologies of different religions. The Egyptian religion is really intertwined. We think of it as something obscure, but or we think of it as something specific. Apparently they could turn a staff into a snake. That's legitimate magic right there. That's legitimate turning a staff into a snake. That's crazy. Here's this truck. He's really taking a slow look at the neighborhood. This is a gated community, and I don't recommend moving into a gated community. There's an X-Files episode on gated communities, and it's a nightmare in that episode, and it's a nightmare in real life. If you can avoid gated communities, as Riff Raff says, do so. Riff Raff didn't want to be in gated communities. If I had the choice, neither would I. Not the best. Tons of rules and regulations. But this hill is actually part of my property, so I can do whatever I want up here. Except for I can also get really vaguely bothered by trucks driving by. So let's talk about something interesting. Something actually interesting. Negative entities. People a lot of times are actually asking me a lot more often, what do you think about angels? What do you think about positive entities? I think it's so simple that it's rejected based on its simplicity. Higher vibrations go up to higher dimensions. Lower vibrations go down to lower dimensions. And some person left a comment saying, fifth dimensional entities, they can't just exist in the fifth dimension alone. That doesn't make sense. And even though he's just ridiculing me, I get a lot of negative comments. People say, you don't know what you're talking about. I have the truth, man. And I go to their channel, and there's zero content. If you have such great truth, please share it. If you have no content on your channel, I guess you're just being selfish and greedy with all this truth you're hoarding. I like to share what I know. And if I haven't shared tiny details of this or that, it's because I want it to be published first. After the publication, I'll even read the chapter in a video straight to you guys for free. Here's the information I've been holding back. It's kind of personal to me. It's kind of important to me. It's not garbage I just want to throw away. Sometimes when you make a YouTube video with information you know to be true and important, sometimes people treat it like a leaflet flyer handed out on Las Vegas Boulevard. I don't know if you've been to Las Vegas Boulevard, but if you walk down Las Vegas Boulevard, people will hand you flyers. It's their job. They're being paid. I don't take it personally against them. But half the time people will have a flyer forced into their hand. Just simply don't take the flyer. Don't take it. But if you're going to take it, put it in your pocket, dispose of it properly, or do what you got to do. But half the time people will take the pamphlet being forced into their hand to a certain extent, and then one block later just chuck it on the ground. You see these leaflets and pamphlets all over the ground. I don't know if they've changed the laws on that, but last time I was there. That's kind of like a YouTube video. I have no desire to just throw it to you and then have you just throw it in the trash like it's garbage and it's worthless. Sometimes when something's important, you want to put it in a publication, you want to print it, you want to validate it. At least I find it so important I want to put it in a print. I want to put it in something more important than just a YouTube video. It's going to be forgotten in 2 weeks. My new show is going to be amazing. You know, I just went to the Winchester Mystery House, and I vaguely did remember they don't allow cameras. And I'm watching now the Ghost Adventures episode where they went back to the Winchester Mystery House. I'm watching it now. I'm only 2 minutes into it. I'll check it out, see what they discovered. But I think I discovered something fairly interesting despite having no cameras. Even if I had a camera, you wouldn't see what I discovered. I do have the ability to detect spirits to a certain extent. I've mentioned this in 4 dozen videos. I don't brag about it. Matter of fact, I kept it a secret for many, many years. But could a spirit avoid my detecting? Most definitely. But occasionally, they don't avoid it, and I can detect their presence and their existence. And I can say definitively, the Winchester Mystery House does have at least one spirit that dwells there, lives there, haunts the place. I'll go into detail in the episode of the new show where I showcase ghosts. I'm doing the Ghost Experiment, 10 episodes of that. And in between, I'm going to be talking about other ghost stories to really spice it up, make it watchable. Entertainment is never my goal. I'm sitting on the hill in my backyard. This isn't entertaining necessarily to you, but I don't apologize because this is more of an education, informational channel. I've always been labeled as an educational channel since day one, as far as I remember. Entertainment is not something I seek, but watchability is a logical thing I do try to reach because I don't want to bore people to death, although this video probably will do that. The sun is setting. The Winchester Mystery House is haunted to a certain extent. I got some very cool stories, including my own personal story. I'd be happy to share with you in that future episode. The first ghost experiment I have not done yet. I'm hesitant. Believe it or not, I'm still building, tweaking, fine-tuning the set. And the set's very simplistic. I got the supplies from the 99-cent store. This is not a big budget Hollywood production. I don't have anyone backing me except for you amazing Patreon patrons. I am greatly appreciative of your support. Patreon.com/Razimus. I apologize for the lack of uploads. I was in California. I went to Chinatown. I went to San Francisco Old Town. I went to San Jose, the Winchester Mystery House. I went to Santa Maria. I didn't have a chance to film the 3 houses, the 4 houses, the 2 main houses I was haunted at in Santa Maria. I go there occasionally, but if it's a trip where I gotta go and I know someone there, I pick them up, we go to San Jose. I'm not always going to have a time to film those haunted houses, and I don't bother the residents there, and I recommend no one bother the residents there. But I will try to revamp my documentary, The Demon Poltergeist Haunting. And I had a comment, someone said, poltergeists are not demons. They're 2 separate things. Poltergeist means noisy ghost in German. I could definitively say poltergeists are only demons and nothing else. If you witness poltergeist activity, you may come across, after researching like I have, many papers by many scientists that didn't know what they're talking about. Scientists that don't believe in telekinesis whatsoever. Telekinesis is like a pseudoscience. Psychokinesis, telekinesis, moving objects with your mind, doing stuff with your mind externally, like starting fires, like the movie Firestarter. Telekinesis specifically. There are videos from, I believe, Russia during the Cold War, maybe even prior, of supposed experiments of psychics moving objects with their mind. Tiny objects, toothpicks, cigarettes, tiny objects, maybe a pencil. Uri Geller faked the moving of pencils, and they discovered he blew air out of his nose, and he practiced it to do it silently. Enough to move a pencil underneath a fishbowl because the air from his nose could still get under the gap underneath the plastic tank or fishbowl or whatever it was. The glass covering didn't stop his nose from blowing the pencil, and they caught him and he was busted. But I think a lot of the telekinesis videos are fake or are literally propaganda created to scare our side when there is a Cold War situation. A lot of stuff like that did happen. As far as any authentic, legitimate moving of objects, I believe I've seen a couple videos. Very rare. And I all think they have nothing to do with psychokinesis or telekinesis. I have first-hand witnessed poltergeist activity for 6 months straight. Every single day, over 150 days straight. Every single day. And when I say that, people say, that's no big deal. Been there, done that. I've literally read a comment that said, been there, done that. I go to his channel, zero content. When you say been there, done that, and I go to your channel, you have zero content, you're just mocking and ridiculing someone who had an authentic experience. And you're not helping the cause. I would start a poltergeist support group, and maybe I will one day. But I know it would greatly be ridiculed, similarly to, say, a alien abduction support group. Man, it is very dark. It is trying to get some light, but it's dark as dark. But I did over 150 days straight, every single day, 10 objects, 20 objects, knocks, bangs, creaking sounds, every single day. I heard that and experienced that. And if it was my mind, why in the middle of that 6 months did the entity jump on top of me and choke me? Because it was an entity and never my mind. That's why. Your mind doesn't jump on top of you and choke you out while you're still awake. People would say it's similar to sleep paralysis, and I have experienced sleep paralysis. I experience sleep paralysis about once every 6 months, almost like clockwork. Maybe once every 4 months, once every 7 months. It's not exactly as reliable as a clock, but I have experienced it pretty much once every 6 months ever since the 2011 main incident of the poltergeist. But before that, it was pretty rare. I would say, maybe once every 2 years, once every 3 years, once every 4 years. It was definitely a much rarer phenomenon that I was familiar with. If someone mentioned it to me, I could say, yeah, I experienced that once or twice in my life, but never on a every 6 month basis. Now it's pretty much every 6 months. I can say February 1st. On February 1st, as I was constructing the set for the new show out of 99-cent supplies, 99-cent store supplies, a spirit most definitely made its presence known by manipulating something in my room, technically poltergeist activity, not telekinesis. And then on February 2nd, it did it again as I was continuing to build the set. The set, at this point, I know I'm just a shadow, but the set it's 90% complete. I still need to build the stand, and I'm cutting the stand out right now. I didn't do it yesterday because I have this Dremel cutting, drilling, shop tool that is so loud that I didn't want to wake people up. But it is early enough where I'm going to be cutting that thing out and hot gluing it together, and it will be finished hopefully tonight. As far as the first experiment, I'll finish up the rest of the 10% of the set, maybe 5%, a little bit of here and there, polish. And then I will hopefully conduct the first experiment this week. The first experiment of the ghost hunting in my room, in the corner of my room. I have this Corners of Rooms theory. Corners of Rooms is the name of my book I'm writing. It's not a fictional book. It's not a non-existent book. It's a real book. It exists. I need to possibly release it in Kindle or PDF format first. I am getting strapped for costs such as this camera, and this camera was an investment, and I think it's well worth it. I got a Panasonic Lumix camera, one of the lower end ones, but I bought a really nice lens to go with it. It's not this lens. This lens is autofocus, but I got a non-autofocus, which is going to be a problem without a cameraman, for the really good cinematic shots of the intro and the outro. And I'm happy about what the lens can do with this camera. It really turns it from a okay quality camera to an amazing quality camera, just the lens alone. So if you really want to just start shooting movies, I recommend getting a camera compatible with a Cine lens and just start filming. Steven Spielberg said if you want to start making a movie, you want to start being a director, grab a camera and start shooting. It's as simple as that. You really progress your way. This is probably my 10th camera I've ever owned, 10th camera I've ever purchased. And you will see the first camera from the first Hoax Hunter video on this channel, youtube.com/hoaxhunter. It was a $20 camera. It was the type of camera you see next to cigarettes at a drugstore behind the counter. It was a $20 camera. It was the first camera I started with on this channel. So don't think you need to jump out and get a $1,000 camera off the bat. Start small, start with your phone, your iPhone, your Android, whatever you got, and progress. Because I tell you, an Android, an iPhone camera is already a million times better than the $20 drugstore camera I started out with. Back then, cameras were on phones, but the quality was so low, it was like filming with a potato. A lot of people claim that's what I was filming with. This is kind of a cool shot, just my silhouette, but I just wanted to keep you guys updated, informed on what's going on. New videos coming soon. I'll shoot something tomorrow. I'll shoot another promo, hopefully. I do have musical equipment. I can play 4 instruments at once. I might get a mixer, a cheaper mixer that I can play 7 instruments, or 8, 9, 10. An 8-channel mixer is actually cheaper than this 4-channel thing that I got. I can get one as cheap as $50. I might pick up one of those. Composing the score seems like something insignificant, but trust me, to me it's very important. It's really going to set the scene for what the show's all about. I don't want my brand new, really good show, aiming for a really good show, to have really cruddy music. I want it to be original, inspired. I want to actually shoot the show and then do the score. The intro is going to be custom. The music's going to fit it perfectly. And I was going to shoot an interesting scene today, but I really want to work on the writing. I want to work on the intro writing. Just something quick. I'll give you an example of the type of writing I'm going to be writing about. Just off the top of the bat, off the top of the head, I don't know. Let's see. Let's say I do an occult episode on the occult. The occult is a mysterious, endless pit of information. You can get swept up in it. You can fall down that pit and have a hard time finding your way out of that rabbit hole. But information is just information, and it's what you do with it determines whether that occult book with that sigil on the cover is good or evil. It could most definitely be a neutral book, but it's something that I would not recommend handing someone who is simply into playing a wizard in a video game. It's not something you role play with. You don't role play with this occult type stuff, or you might be swept up into it because it is an authentic phenomenon. It is real. Magic isn't Harry Potter. It isn't Disney, but as scary as the truth is, an innocent movie like Fantasia, if you will, where Mickey Mouse is wearing that star and moon blue witch hat, and he's just waving a magic wand around like it's fun and games, and then you see the brooms sweeping on their own. You see the rooms cleaning up on their own, the dishes cleaning on their own. Disney didn't intend on showing telekinesis as some type of hilarious thing that we should actually engage in. He was just showing a cartoon interpretation of what magic is. But the fact of the matter is, if you see a broom sweeping on its own, it's not sweeping on its own. There is an invisible demonic entity holding that broom sweeping it. There's always an entity behind the movement of any poltergeist activity going on. In my first-hand experience, that is a fact. People will disagree, but those people that disagree, I don't see any story illustrated by them showcasing, not even advertising, just quite frankly saying, just one forum post. I experienced this. It's pretty freaky stuff. I can tell you I have more than one forum post. The reason I've made so many videos on the subject is because before I die, I just want my story told and shown as not entertainment, but as what it really is. I actually did experience it. I'm not crazy. I don't suffer from any ailments. I don't take any drugs. The only drugs I take are occasionally aspirin or ibuprofen for a headache here and there. And I don't even recommend too much of that. It can hurt your liver or your stomach. Your stomach lining can be definitely hurt by too much aspirin, I'll tell you that. So use that stuff in minimal quantities, and only when needed. But that's the type of random writing I would write about. And then I would cut out the parts that are boring and drone on about aspirin. And I would focus on something very interesting. I'd focus on something that summed up what the entire episode was about on a generic level and on a specific level. And then I'll piece it together and have a more professional show, as opposed to, hi, I'm John Razimus. Here's this episode about this occult book I read. Although I am doing more book reviews in the future. Spliced between occult stories, I will be doing one book review here and there. But stay tuned, more stuff coming soon. The sun has definitely set and you're seeing nothing but shadows. I have occasionally seen a shadow person out of the corner of my eye, sporadically here and there, and they're running very fast. And I personally think they can run through walls. And I think it's a little glimpse. Although occasionally it's just your mind playing tricks on you. I will say that sleep paralysis does have a scientific validity, and your mind playing tricks on you has scientific validity. But actual fifth dimensional entities do exist. And that poster that said that they don't simply only exist in the fifth dimension, and I go to his channel, there's no content, he's definitely partially right. These fifth dimensional entities look down on our dimension. They could rarely move rocks and actual physical matter, but they're very territorial, and they see this planet as theirs as much as we see it as ours. They have learned, obviously, we have learned to live with them, they've learned to live with us, but their perspective is different because they can see us and we can't see them. But stay tuned, more videos coming soon. I'll try to shoot a promo tomorrow. I will try to conduct the first ghost experiment this week, but you won't see it until the first episode, if the first episode will be on ghosts, which I think it will be. Stay tuned, more videos coming soon. I thank you for watching. 34 minutes in, this is going to be a long video, but I just wanted to keep you informed, share a couple thoughts with you, despite the lack of sunlight. I thank you for watching. Be seeing you.